areas for development for the water and water-related sectors, which is the NATO-based solution. In a time where water represents a big challenge at global level, and of course, at local level. A challenge because of water scarcity, a challenge because of floods, a challenge because of climate change. And actually, this webinar, it is under the umbrella of the ARSINOE project, which is a project that intends, along with other 3 sister projects funded by the European Union under Horizon 2020 framework program for research and innovation, was to work in order to support the water sector and related sectors into the deeper development of solutions that can address the impact of the climate change, which we know has been discussed, seen, debated so many times, but in the end, as we many times we say, water is really a global challenge, but then we need to find local solutions, effective local solutions, in the new perspective of a systemic change, of a change that will remain as a change, an effective change. In order that our ecosystem will be able to be, our water ecosystem, able to be resilient, secure, and safe in the long run. I'm Andrea Rubini. I'm the director of the operations of Water Europe, which is the voice and the promoter of the water issues and challenges, research and innovation in Europe and to some extent beyond Europe. And I'm very much pleased to host today in this webinar a number of projects which are related to the MBS issues, and the title of the webinar today is How NATO-based solution can support climate change adaptation and mitigation in the water sector. And this will be an illustration with urban stormwater management and related issues. Today, we host, as I said, a number of projects, which are the multi-source projects, the Transformar, the ARSINOE, the Impetus projects. And we have also the great opportunity of having, as a keynote speakers, the leadership of the working groups on NATO-based solution and water of Water Europe, which I welcome all the speakers for their, and thanks for their availability and the contribution to this webinar. The webinar is made of this introduction, a first keynote speech by Mr. Anacleto Rizzo. Then we have the keynotes given by the working group on NATO-based solutions, and then we have the projects that will address different phases and implications of NATO-based solutions in this climate change challenge that it is globally affecting the world and our daily life. So I don't want to steal more time to the speakers, and my recommendation is, of course, to keep your time, within the limit of your slot of time. And many thanks also to all the participants which are following this webinar, either directly through Zoom or through the social media. So welcome once again, and I would like to pass the floor to Anacleto Rizzo for the first speech. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrea, and to be invited us to give this very short overview of what can be done by NBS solution related to climate change adaptation. So which are the options and why we can talk about a systemic approach. We will see also where entering, for instance, other projects like multi-source, as it was mentioned. We all know now, we all accept the fact that with climate change, we expect some climate risk that is affecting the water sector. And essentially the increasing temperature is going to change the rainfall patterns with some increase in the frequency of floods events. but also very prolonged period of drought that is challenging our cities in terms of, for instance, heat islands, but also in terms of water security, in terms of water demand. And so essentially, we can talk about 4 big climate risks that is affecting the water sector. Of course, floods, heat, and droughts, as we talked, but also something related to biodiversity and water quality, as we will see. And NBS, being multipurpose per se in definition, has really the power to help in addressing this climate change in a systemic view, also by closing all the water cycle that we have at city and suburban scales. And so just having a quick overview of what can be done with NBS solution, according to any single challenge, we can start from floods. And when we talk about floods, we always have to keep in mind that we have different floods. They are not all the same. And for instance, if we talk about pluvial floodings, we mean what is happening when a city is receiving a high amount of rainfall and it's not able to manage the rainfall per se that is falling on his head. So the fact that, for instance, we are flooding some part of the city for insufficient sewer network. And on this regard, the solution that NBS is bringing are behind the umbrella of sustainable drainage system, water-sensitive urban design, low-impact development. And for instance, on the right, you can see some recent example of what is known as rain garden in Italy that we have designed, retrofitting existing roads. And it's the same we are going to monitor in multi-source with the Norwegian partner NIVA in terms of the capability of delivering a good quality of infiltrated water after keeping this water on the surface. And why we can talk about systemic approach, because this is a solution that is delivered mainly for dealing with pluvial flooding against. But since we're talking about NBS, we cannot design per se only floods. So as you can see on the right, we can have other benefits like heat island effects, water quality because we are treating the first flush from the roads, but also recreating some biodiversity context inside our city. So the key message is that no matter which is the climate risk with which we are designing, the main climate risk with which we are designing our NBS, we know that we can deliver other benefits for the other climate risk. And this is why we can talk about systemic approach. Similarly, when we talk instead about big floods from fluvial, it's the same kind of solution, but here the idea is to make what is conventionally known as a detention basin as a sort of floodable parks that can be lived during drought period, but during rainfall events, they became essentially big detention basin for the floods. Another thing to consider is that we have some water pollution pressure from increased expected combined sewer overflow in our network when it's mixed. And this means that we are expecting to discharge much more untreated, diluted wastewater in our rivers. And for this, again, in multi-source is studied and is used the treatment wetland, for instance, for treating this pollutant source. But if we go back to drought, so the fact that instead we are missing some water, of course, we can think about rainwater harvesting. So the fact that by intercepting with SADs this rainwater, we can also think to reuse with multi-purpose benefits, like in this case, using this harvested rainwater for bioclimatic tanks inside the building of Terracol Center. But also we can think another source of non-conventional water. So we can use nature-based solution to recover the so-called gray water. So the water from wash basin, showers, so all the water except the one from toilet that is coming outside from our houses. And in this case, there are several projects, including multi-source, that is studying innovative solution, not only treatment wetland on the ground, but also green roof or vertical wall that is treating and reusing this gray water. And finally, we can also think to reuse by nature-based solution and to recover water resources by mixed wastewater. So, and this was, for instance, the main aim of Idrusa, in which we treated and reused mixed wastewater for fertigating an agroforestry system. And also in this case, on all these examples, you can see that we are touching different climate risks all together with a single solution. And this was the main message that I want to bring with my quick speech. And thanks for the attention. 1 minute late, sorry, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Anacleto. Thank you so much. And I'd like also to take the opportunity of informing that, and we'll put them in the chat, that the Idrusa project is going to carry out its final conference next week in Athens. So maybe that somebody will be interested to join or to follow up the works. Once again, thank you. And now I give the floor to the working group on water and nature-based solution, or nature-based solution in water. So Kamal and Frederick, you are welcome to take the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Andrea. I will start, and Kamal will continue on the presentation. So, as a leader of the nature-based solution working group, we've been asked to open the presentation by showing our vision on the subject, on climate change and nature-based solution. It will be a two-voice presentation. I will start to introduce the subject, and then Kamal will continue. Okay, so a very quick slide to remind you about the nature-based solution working group at Water Europe. We are welcoming members with different aims. One is to share and learn. The other one, very important, is to do networking, but also to provide inputs to research and innovation programs, and to facilitate joint research and innovation activities. In the past meeting, we have presented lots of calls and make connection with people to answer this call. So feel free to come to this working group. Okay, to go back to the subject, I will start to go back before the idea of a nature-based solution to manage stormwater. And the idea is to understand the path that led us to nature-based solution. So this is a painting from a century ago of the city, any city in Europe or any city, and where the idea was to manage stormwater in impervious way. We made impervious cities, and the main idea was to remove the stormwater from the city to avoid any flooding, mostly. And if we go a little more in the subject, in the next slide, we can see that at this time, the idea was to build networks. We have been the drainage network, sewage network, combined network, and all the idea of the network was to take the stormwater, to take the sewage, and remove that as fast as possible outside of the city. These networks have been built in the late 19th century, and they have been mostly driven by engineers, of course, but also physicians. And the main idea of the first network was really based on epidemiology and the fact that living water, stormwater, sewage, living water in the city could be harmful for the health of citizens. So we build on that. And I want to show you in the next slide, if we go a little deeper on this network, the path that we follow, the vision that we had at this time for managing stormwater. This is a drawing from a book that has been written in 1883. So by the end of the 19th century, at the time where we started to build networks. So this writer, Albert Robida, drew what could be the city in the 20th century. So our city, our actual city. And it's quite interesting because it's all about networks. So if we look in detail on the first networks, Kamal, we can see that the idea was to build networks for drinking water and for drainage. This is what we've done. Maybe it's not the good size, but this is what we've done. And then The network that we can see, there are also television, music, and theater. So television is not what we know now. It was more a visual system, but it's our internet. So it's quite close to what we've done. And then if we look in the next one, we can see the mechanical energy and the light. That's also what we've done with electricity. So this vision is really close to 1 century before, is really close to the vision that we are following now. And if we look at the last network is called the compagnie alimentaire, so the food company. So basically, the idea at this time was that we can also deliver food through the network. So it could be crazy to think about that, but it's behind that there is this idea that we could solve everything with engineers and with networks. We can build everything in the city and solve and support the city with the network. So this was the vision that we had at this time. If we go on the next slide, the vision was really for the drainage system to be the interface between the city and the natural environment. So I'm taking everything outside of the city to the natural environment. But I'm not looking for benefits for the city. I'm not looking for benefits for the natural environment. The network, the way I'm managing stormwater, is only the interface between the two. In the next slide, there is the vision of the past and the vision of the future, the vision that we are starting to push now. So the vision of the past is really this impervious city full of network. We've made huge network to manage stormwater. And these pipes are never full. They are full maybe once every 50 years. And we have made cities as funnel. We are doing more rapidly runoff because it's all impervious. It's all about network. So we've seen now, we know all the limits of this system. So I won't go back on these limits, but we've seen the limit of the system. And so we are moving more and more to vegetate city or sensitive city, as we can call them, or sponge city. There are lots of names now. And one of the main ideas is to reduce the runoff. If you look on the left, the runoff is like 55% of what is raining. And with impervious with pervious cities, then the runoff will be decreased to 10%. So it's less water to manage. And these are other benefits. So this is the vision that we are pushing now. And in the next slide, we can see that the vision is also different because we are not looking at the interface between the city and the environment. The vision is to look for the benefit for all the combined city and the environment and mix that city and the environment. So this is something very important. We often say it's a paradigm change, but it's really a new vision that we are pushing. In the next slide, I'm trying to synthesize all yeah, you cannot change the next slide?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, perfect, thank you. So in this slide, I'm trying to synthesize all the challenges that we have to deal now when we are considering water management in cities. It's not only flood protection. There are lots of challenges, and Anacleto has presented some of the challenge in the previous presentation, and Kamal will also discuss some of the challenge. And this challenge, it's quite complicated to work on them because there is a space condition. Some are very local, some are more global, and there is also a time condition. Some challenge you can answer now, and then you receive the response. You have the benefits now, and some other the benefits will be on the long term. And I have highlighted some of the challenge because they are directly connected to climate change, either climate change mitigation or climate change adaptation. And so this is what we have to deal now. We have to deal with stormwater management as much more complex management. And to answer that, we are going in the direction of nature-based solution because we feel that that's our vision now. That's the way we can solve that. So I will let Kamal continue on the nature-based solution and their integration in the city.
So what are nature-based solutions? Nature-based solutions are a set of structural and non-structural interventions that protect, manage, restore, and create nature-based features while providing multiple benefits and addressing societal challenges such as flooding, erosion, landslides, droughts, extreme heat, and so on and so forth. So thereby, those nature-based solutions help to build climate resilience, and they contribute also to restore biodiversity and support communities with well-being and livelihoods. So on this slide, you have examples of NBS typologies, and all those solutions help not only to adapt, but also to mitigate climate change, whether there is too little water or too much water. So on this slide, you can see multiple ways to implement NBS at different scales. And those NBSs help to perform diverse functions and provide various benefits, leaving watersheds intact for a safe and clean water supply. For example, if you protect and restore mangroves, they would help to reduce the effect of storms on shorelines. By implementing, for example, porous pavements or bioretention in using green spaces, they would help coping with stormwater issues. If you use wetlands, for example, you can also treat wastewater with those solutions. So those are many examples, and you can see on this slide you have different diverse examples where NBS can help to kind of cope with challenges we have in urban cities. So now if we focus on urban water, so here we mentioned 5 NBSs. So you have the first one, which is open spaces and water bodies. Next one are constructed wetlands. The third is bioretention area, which can be of various sorts, like rain gardens, bioswales, planter boxes. You have green roofs, permeable pavements. So all those solutions help to manage stormwater runoff and improve the hydrological response of urban areas. And in addition, they also help to provide several co-benefits in terms of water quality, increased biodiversity, and increased use of public areas. Now, if we dive a bit more into those solutions, you have building solutions, as has been shown earlier. So you have green roofs and facades. Those solutions help to capture, store, and reuse stormwater. They help also to cool buildings through evapotranspiration of the plants. They improve air quality. And many other functions that these solutions can provide to the building. So if we move now to the next example, which are terraces and slopes. So those solutions are typically used in regions with a steep topography and poor soil, and they help to cope with several hazards such as floods, erosion, landslide. But they also help to store water, stormwater, and release it slowly. And they can also provide an additional water supply in periods of droughts. So in addition, we of course capture CO2 through the vegetation, and they help also cooling the area. Next one is bioretention areas. As I mentioned, they are of various sorts, like rain gardens, infiltration trenches, bioswales, and so on. So those help to cope with stormwater issues, and they also add several co-benefits to the society. They help enhancing biodiversity, and they help also capturing CO2. Last but not least, you have wetlands. They can be either natural or constructed, and those are typically used to treat water using either the plants or the microbial communities present in that ecosystem. They help also sequestering carbon and help cities to adapt to climate effects, as well as providing co-benefits to communities and help the biodiversity. So to conclude, we have seen that nature-based solutions have been demonstrated by scientific studies to provide positive outcomes of the interplay between climate adaptation and mitigation, biodiversity, ecosystem services, and urban green infrastructures. And thereby they contribute in many ways to a water-smart society as defined by Water Europe. Therefore, nature-based solutions have emerged as the main policy driver for most transitioning cities because they can be used to create multifunctional arenas and fulfill multiple simultaneous societal, economic, and environmental objectives. However, many nature-based solutions remain relatively new solutions, and they present important challenges in terms of unknown co-design, operation, maintenance, and how we could organize their implementation. Those solutions are often most effective when approached in a holistic manner, especially in complex urban environments. And we should not design them independently, but rather as a complementing existing gray infrastructures, therefore providing the most efficient solutions. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention.
Many thanks, Frederick. Many thanks, Kamal, for your contribution. So I mean, it's a big picture, the one that has been given, and thank you so much also for getting back to the past. I mean, when we used to see the city as, I mean, a perfect model that then in the end, I mean, resulted in additional challenges, I mean, to be solved, particularly for the water domain. Now, I mean, it is the time, I mean, to go to the projects, to the sister projects of ARSINOE. I said that it's a cluster of projects which include, as I said, ARSINOE, Transformer, and Impetus and Resilience. It is interesting to see, I mean, the different views, I mean, from different perspectives, I mean, and different experience, I mean, on how we can really support NBS implementation and this, I mean, systemic change in our society. So now I'm very pleased, I mean, to pass the floor to the Transformer project, and today we have Jan Kool from the University of Antwerp as the coordinator of the project, and Sanna Maris from the city of La Perenta. Sorry if I pronounce, I mean, correct me if I do not pronounce well, I mean, the name of the city. So thank you so much. We start with Jan Kool, I mean, about the business model for greener cities. And then, I mean, we have another base solution in urban stormwater management. Not just an option, but a starting point. So Jan, please, I mean, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Andrea. So indeed, so Transformer is one of the sister projects. I'm sharing the screen right now. So indeed, so why is it called like a business model for greener, more resilient cities? Well, that's a bit about me. I'm the Transformer, but I'll explain. Yeah. So the NBS has also been mentioned before. So multi-benefits exist. So it is acknowledged. So many projects have already realized like benefits, but then in practice, then the implementation is slow and a small scale, and people are often concerned about the negative sides, the challenges or the limitations, and hence do not advance much to investments. So we need basically approaches to accelerate investments. So when I want to mention then besides a Transformer, which I will also explain, also like a project where we tried out already like a more simple approach. So that is the Nature Smart Cities project. And that starts from the point that basically it is difficult to assess the multi-benefits, and especially like smaller cities that have like limited resources, limited staff, basically to do all this sort of assessments and benefits. They had a need to have like a more simpler tool So we developed basically in the Nature Smart Cities project a rapid assessment tool that easily gives an easy cost benefit, basically of the multiple benefits that we have, and also to communicate to such that it can be advanced for investment. So then, so while Nature Smart Cities, that is rapid assessment tool, the transformer has so far developed like what we call the playbook for transformational adaptation, is like a way to progress basically as well, like which adaptation pathway are we needing, do we need, like how can we develop the solutions, how can we know about the socioeconomic impact, like how do we know what citizens prefer. And then we hear the case later of Lappeenranta in Finland, the city where an NBS is then well promoted and being implemented and studied. But basically, these two projects have been the same challenge in a way, that it is like how to accelerate basically investments. Because it is known in a way, that even if you have like numbers and data and models and technical skills, so it does not necessarily happen. So on the Nature Smart Cities, that has been, we have like two publications, even more basically, but these two I want to highlight. We asked like a lot of the decision makers in cities in the Belgium, Netherlands, France, UK. Like what do you know? What do you basically need to make an investment on greening or nature-based solutions on stormwater management? And then they all say, oh, we need like a good economic assessment. But then also we ask them like, okay, do you use them actually then in practice? And basically it is said, oh, no, we don't use them in practice. We think they're important, but in the end we don't use them. So it was like a bit like contradictory answers, which also supported like our initial aim that the tools that exist basically are too complex and difficult to use, especially for like smaller cities and small scale NBS. So then what we also did was come up with a business case fact sheet. So, and then you had like a number of ecosystem services that they could choose from. Because it also was a purpose for communication, so it was not supposed to be doing everything, but they could choose the ones, and then you could get like an easy outcome of the scenario. Here you see like an example from Bruges in Belgium, where that is like opening up a river, and then of course that also serves for stormwater management. So here they chose for increased water retention, the heat island effect, and we also added like a simple tool for habitat assessment, because that is basically also not very easily available. How do you assess like what is the benefit for biodiversity? Often the tools that exist are either very complex or specific, or so we made like a simple version. And then like also we had like investments, like how much is your maintenance cost for this, because that's also like a main complaint for nature-based solution. The maintenance cost is so high, so that also the tool gives like indicative values. As I said, it's like a rapid assessment tool, so it's indicative. So and then for transformer, we have the playbook already and advance in later stage to the socioeconomic impact assessment. But considering we had data from Nature Smart Cities, I thought already to show like how it could be. And the playbook is well, as I mentioned, is a way to get stakeholders together and to help them decide which way would it go. And it's like a very detailed planning schedule, basically to organize like workshops, to basically organize the climate risks, to come up with thresholds, like which priorities do we want to take, and then it ends up in the pathways. But yeah, it's like a small presentation now here. So the questions I would like to discuss, like if there is time, of course, is basically like which sort of information basically is now needed to make like an investment. because there is all this sort of data and potential and assessment and methodologies, but not all of them are like essential, and all of them cost like a lot of money to collect and to collect them. So also here, like how important is economic and financial information for choosing NBS. But that's my small contribution.
Many thanks, Jan, for your contribution, which wasn't small, and also on the topic, are quite sensitive, and I think that we'll have time to discuss, during the debate. And now, I will still keep, the focus on the transformer projects and invite Sanna Baris to take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope I'm sharing the right screen.
I see it, Sanna.
Yep, and you can see the presentation mode.
Yes,
yeah,
fine.
It's fine.
Yeah. So hello everyone. My name is Sanna Baris, and I'm from Finland, from city of Lappeenranta. And now I have to. Yeah. Some background information about city of Lappeenranta. We are located in southeast Finland on the shores of Lake Saimaa, which is one of the main reasons we are interested in developing urban stormwater management and nature-based solutions. And that is also what we are developing in Transformer project. And I think the background information, or the background was explained in Frederick's and Kamal's presentation earlier. Although we do have separate sewer systems for stormwater and wastewater in Finland and in Lappeenranta, but the stormwaters are usually discharged untreated into the nearest water body, so there is no purification for them, except for our constructed wetlands, which are our first nature-based solutions, and we have 9 of them currently, and they are located on the shores of Lake Saimaa. And there are water samples taken regularly and plenty of data about the constructed wetlands. So we know how they work, and we also know that the catchment areas are very large, and almost all of the wetlands we have are too small for the amount of water. And we have challenges with both quality and quantity of stormwaters. We have stormwater flooding, sewer overflows, and pollution, algae blooms in Lake Saimaa even in wintertime, which is very rare. And so we know there is something wrong with the ecosystem. And we are headed towards decentralized stormwater management and nature-based solutions instead of a centralized system, which we have now. And I think, we have a stormwater management program in the city, and it's encouraging both our own organization and the citizens to use the nature-based solutions. We really want stormwaters to be seen as a resource and a positive thing instead of being a problem. And since the city is located on a ridge which is an ice marginal formation laid down by the last ice age, the soil is mainly formed of sand and gravel, and it holds massive reserves of high quality groundwater. So we have to take care of groundwater formation as well. So all of this speaks for nature-based solutions. And I have some examples of the nature-based solutions that are currently used in Lappeenranta. I think these were also introduced earlier, so I just will quickly show the pictures. These are mainly used in public areas, streets and parks. and as well as retention areas, pools, ponds, natural ditches, and then in private property for private plot owners, we recommend them to collect and utilize stormwater, and also to build rain gardens for absorbing or filtering water. And the benefits, these are all mentioned earlier. I think these are pretty obvious: biodiversity, stormwater quality improvement, groundwater formation. But it also gives us the opportunity to discuss and provide information for stakeholders about climate change and climate change adaptation. And I have to mention the collaboration with stakeholders as well as citizens, and within our own city organization. It's definitely a benefit, but it can be difficult at times. And yeah, so it's also mentioned in the challenges and lessons learned. And implementing nature-based solutions is a slow process because in already built environment, basically the new areas, new nature-based solutions can only be built in connection with renewal projects. And as said before, nature-based solutions are often more expensive than the traditional measures, especially for the private plot owners. It can be hard to justify why we are requiring more expensive measures. And maintenance has to be considered in early stage of planning. Collaboration it's a benefit and a challenge. It can be hard, but it's also a benefit since every department has their own special knowledge and interests, and to coordinate them can cause problems sometimes. But since the attitudes are the biggest challenge, I would say, and changing the attitudes, we have to engage the stakeholders and provide information on nature-based solutions and the benefits, especially since nature-based solutions are often more expensive to build, maintain, and design than traditional methods. The use of them has to be justified with other benefits. And challenges seem to be common for all types of nature-based solutions, although the ones that are under the ground and cannot be seen that easy, I think they can be more acceptable. But yeah, a lot of work needs to be done to make nature-based solutions mainstream, which is our goal, and attitudes have to be changed. Thank you.
Many thanks, Anna. Yes, Anna, sorry. I think that's you also provided a scenario in which it is clear that there's a lot of things to be done. There's a lot of work to do. For nature-based solutions, and to project them, in our society to be really effective. And I already have, a lot of questions. There are also questions coming from the audience. We are a little behind the schedule. I would like to ask Elena Cristiano kindly to take the floor and speak about, the large-scale installation of green roofs as an MBS for sustainable urban water management. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Good morning to everyone. I'm Elena Cristiano. I'm working at the University of Cagliari. And in this really short presentation, I'm going to talk about a more specific nature-based solution. I mostly focus on green roofs. I think all of you have at least an idea of what a green roof is. It's a structure that we put above a building, and it's made of some vegetation, a soil layer, and it enables to retain part of the rainfall during rainfall events. We mostly focus on a specific type of green roofs multi-layer green roofs that have an additional storage layer that enables to store even more water during the rainfall events. And as we have seen also in the other presentation, green roofs as nature-based solution in general have multiple benefits. And I think this is something that we really need to focus on. So they are important for the stormwater management, but they also provide a lot of multiple benefits for the sustainable development of the city, especially if we focus indeed not just on water, but if we consider a water, energy, food ecosystem nexus approach. So this type of solution can be really important for cities, not only for retaining water, but for example, they can help saving energy for the building. They help reducing the urban heat island. So it's really important to see that they have benefit for the stormwater management, but also for other aspects of the city. We know that green roofs can largely contribute at building scale, so they are capable to retain a lot of rainfall during rainfall events. But what we wonder is what would happen if we could use all the available roofs in a cities, and how much can we reduce the runoff generation? Because indeed, from an engineering point of view, we know that this structure is working, but what would be the impact if we could actually install it at large scale? So first point, it's how do we select the suitable green roof, suitable roof to install green roofs? Roofs need to be flat, and we have to exclude old buildings and all the buildings that are, let's say, not usable for historical reason or monumental reason. So we extended our study to 9 cities around the globe, and we tried to identify the suitable roof, so the flat roof, excluding, of course, the historical building. We tried to find places where high-resolution data were available, both in terms of rainfall and temperatures of the climatological condition, and also in terms of building shape files and digital surface model at high resolution. And what we observe is that if we compare different types of green roofs, so we can have extensive green roof, which has just a small, thin soil layer, or intensive green roof with a larger soil layer, or the multi-layer green roof, which have this additional storage layer, we can see that the retention capacity at large scales really vary depending on the city. Of course, it depends on how many flat roofs we do have in the city, but overall we can reach at least a reduction of 2–3%. And in some cities, if you consider, for example, some Canadian city like Montreal or Adria, the performance can be above the 10%, which is quite a lot of reduction of the rainfall during intense and extreme events. So, wrapping up the main conclusion, multi-layer green roofs present multiple benefits. They can be a strong support for the stormwater management. They cannot act alone, so they have to be inserted in a context, as we saw in the previous presentation, of different nature-based solution and different solution for the different parts of the cities. But they can be a strong support in mitigating intense and extreme rainfall events. And with this, I would like to thank you. And if you have any question regarding this specific type of nature-based solution, I would be happy to answer.
Many thanks, Elena. I already have a question, but then I will use it, during the debates. And there are also other questions coming up. Now, in the last contribution from the project perspective, it is from the Impetus projects, the implementation of nature-based solutions to protect the Catalan coastal line against severe events. And Gerald Plana, welcome to take the floor. But just to add that here we are moving in a border situation between let's say the cities, the inland water, the sea, the ocean, and the coastal areas, which represent quite a sensitive area concerning water dynamics. So Gerald, please take the floor.
Thank you. I hope that all of you can see the presentation. I'm Carolina Plana from Eurecat, the Technology Center of Catalonia. And
So
today I will present.
It is not still in presentation mode. We can see.
Really? Oh, okay, I'm going to stop. Now it works?
Not yet. Oh, yes.
Not yet.
Absolutely. Yes, it works.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Today I will present some of the work of different partners that they are involved on the Catalan coast demosite, and I'm here since my role is the demosite leader. So just to locate you a little bit, Catalonia is in the northeast of Spain. Here you can see the coast where main of our activities are located. So to locate you a little bit, the northeast of Spain is where the red arrow is presented. So today I will present some nature-based solutions implemented along the Catalan coast. We have some activities. I hope that you can see my mouse. So my mouse. So some of them are located up to the north of Catalonia. Another part of the NBS solutions are implemented a little bit south of Barcelona, between Barcelona and Tarragona, so more or less here. And then the last NBS solution is implemented to Nebra Delta, which is definitely the south of Catalonia. To put you also in context, the main climate change impacts in the Catalan coast, what we can see is that there's a sea level rise, which is increasing the flooding risk and salt intrusion. Also, we have been noticing that there's an increasing frequency and intensity of marine storms, and we have experienced also some water scarcity episodes, and we can also observe, or it's expected that we have an increasing irregularity in rainfall, also intensifying flash floods and related damages. So the solutions that are going to be deployed within the case study is solutions to increase the water availability and the quality, adapt the coastal line to sea level rise and marine storms in terms of enhancing river sediment transport, multifunctional wetlands, and some novel dune restoration and monitoring methods. Also, we are working on predicting the trends of extreme events related to economic impact, and also assess the resilience of drinking water plants with respect of the increase of the pathogens. Today, I will focus on the second point, on some solutions to adapt the sea level rise and marine storms. To start, I will start with the sea level wetland to adapt the sea level rise, which is basically, we have installed a wetland on a rice field in order to remove organic pollutants before we discharge the wastewater, the agricultural wastewater, to the natural habitat. For preliminary test at the lab scale showed that we can remove some of these organic compounds with different absorbents. The one that we have selected to implement it at pilot scale is a combination of biochar and sand, which was the best performing absorbent. Up to now, we are already installed this absorbent at the pilot scale, as you can see on the picture, and just recently started the operation of those wetlands. So we still don't have relevant results on that. And I hope that I will have the chance to present you final results on that implementation. Another NBS that we have been testing also within the case study are the sand dune restoration. We have two places that they are tested. One is the one to the north of Catalonia, and there's another one a little bit south of Barcelona. The first traps that were installed for dune protection and restoration were up to the north of Catalonia. So in that place, we already see the benefits. Since 2090, we see that we have increased the height of the sun already 1 meter, which means 46% of the increase of the height. So we are still working on monitoring and implementing some strategies in order to protect the coastal line. Combined with this NBS that we have implemented along the Catalan coast, we are willing to evaluate the changes in the spatial distribution of the species. So IUCN, which is another partner of the project, they already have a standard to evaluate the performance of these NBS solutions, and it can allow to evaluate the impact on the biodiversity. So this work is also going on, and we already started to collect all the data. And for example, in case of dune restoration, we have data since 1990. So with these databases, with these long databases, we can start to work on to see the vulnerability of the species, either the native species, either the invasive species, and how the implementation of NBS can affect this biodiversity. As conclusions and also lessons learned, we can see that climate change is affecting Catalonia because we are experiencing the longest drought period for the last 50 years. Also, we experienced storm Gloria with high winds and heavy rainfall a few years ago. So this is a demonstration that climate change is happening. Also, we have seen that the strategies for climate change adaptation are urgently needed. Key factor is the collaboration and the cooperation with relevant stakeholders, our previous presenters mentioned. And some preliminary results show that the potential of these NBS solutions that are already implemented on the Catalan coast. So thank you very much, and I would like to thank you, some colleagues of Eureka. They are running the wetland. The other partner, the University of Girona, which they are implementing these sand dune restoration strategies and monitoring, and also the IUCN that they are using the data for the evolution of the biodiversity and the impact of the NBS solutions. So thank you.
Many thanks to you and to all the speakers who contributed so far. Now we have, a bit of less time than expected for the discussion. Well, really there are a lot of things. But for sure, changing to another-based solutions in urban areas means really to carry out, a paradigmatic shift. Really, a big change, because then we involve, the different layers of the society, and then it's a matter of really of involvement. All the actors, of our society. At the same time, there's a matter of cost. But should I get, a power message from you about, can you summarize really in few words what are the benefits of applying another-based solutions in our cities? And this, of course, in the view of the climate change challenge that we are experiencing. May I ask our NBS working group? say, to summarize, I mean, what are the benefits, I mean, of applying NBS in a power message?
Yeah, as we have seen through the presentations, nature-based solutions have to, in first place, to cope with all the effects of climate change, for example, by controlling the stormwater flows through the infiltration, retention, and so on. They help also to provide habitat to biodiversity, and help to also cope with droughts or landslides in some cases, and also help to treat water quality. So there are many benefits, and in addition, we provide well-being and livelihood to communities. So it's, yeah, I mean, many benefits to summarize.
Yeah, indeed, there are lots of benefits on climate change adaptation and mitigation. And I really like in the presentation, because in the Transformer project, they really try to assess these benefits. And the other presentation, we show that we saw that these benefits are quite difficult to assess. So we say NBS are more expensive than pipes or other solutions. But in fact, they are more expensive if you look only for flooding protection and collect and transport. But it's really the point of, there are lots of benefits, and if we cannot assess them economically, then we are missing the target. It's very difficult to convince people to go on NBS. So this is really a quick question about what are the benefits, but more, how can we assess them and show monetary or in some other way the social benefits, biodiversity benefits, and so on.
About, I mean, I heard, I mean, about the matter that, of course, there are different trends, I mean, in centralizing or decentralizing, I mean, another-based solutions. Of course, this has an impact on cost, for sure. And then there is an impact of the capacity of the NBS of promoting the inclusiveness of the change. But there are two different areas. I mean, so I'd like me to ask you, to the speakers, I mean, to the panelists, from the point of the cost, I mean, it is something that, I mean, decentralizing represents a shift in the possible cost and, of course, possible benefits in the deployment of another-based solutions, and how this can have also an impact, I mean, centralizing or decentralizing on the capacity of the change, I mean, in having new NATO-based solutions being implemented in the cities, how this can help, I mean, the capacity of including in this process the civil society. There are two different questions, and I hope that's, I mean, I have, I mean, a number of panelists, I mean, responding to this.
Yeah, if I can say something shortly. So in La Peranta, Sana was mentioning that specifically, but we're also doing like a so-called choice experiment, let's say. Yeah? We are asking the citizens in La Peranta, but also Norway, what would you be keen to do on your own land? Because NBS often is like done on public land, right? The government, they invest on streets that they own and so, but there is, of course, a lot of private land, and a lot of measures can be taken on private land. How many people have a garden and so where they can build like a retention basin, or where they can do for biodiversity and so, well, anyhow, that is what we will be doing in Finland and Norway. But I see also like in Belgium already like a difference. Like Belgium is much more paved town and much more impermeable than like Finland and Norway. And then that differs. That differs, of course, the options you have, but also like the interest that you see. Well, we expect, but that's still a hypothesis, that in Belgium they miss nature more, let's say, than in Finland or Norway, but they have more space in Finland and Norway. So anyhow, so that's just like a social experiment that we are conducting.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I mean, it's very important because we are focused on physical spaces. I mean, it's a matter that we have private and public space that can be used for knowledge-based solutions. But then, I mean, my question is, do we have a cultural challenge? We have, I mean, a matter of money for the investment. Is a matter of political leverage. What is, I mean, the sparkle? What is, I mean, the trigger?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Again, so shortly to answer that, I think it is partly like who is investing. Like a lot of the NBS, I think, is with European money in a way, yeah? Because European projects are moving that forward, like life projects, Interreg, etc. And so it's often not a matter of shortage of money, but it is like whose benefit is it? Like if you're like a public works operator, then they need to have that they're constructing a road or a sewer or whatever, and they're not considering of putting like a nature-based solution on top when they close the street again or so. So that is, I think, like a challenge. But anyhow, I leave also the floor to others.
I just wanted to make a short comment on this because from the experience that we are having in Italy, for instance, in some example of managing stormwater, the water utilities are pushing for it. That is a big player. It's not a matter of only demo from research project, but it's a matter that some utility are starting to understand that they don't want that water in the sewer. And they are starting to manage how to flexible interpretate the water tariff to justify this investment for stormwater that is not covered by, well covered by the Water Framework Directive. So there is this high interest of the water utilities, at least the most smart one, I'd say the most innovative one. But in doing this, just to reply to Andrea, we need a big shift because all the structure, not only the infrastructure, but also the legislative structure is matter on centralization, piping, asset, public and private. And we are really struggling in a water utility that wanted to invest in rain garden for a road and discussing if they can pay with tariff this intervention, and especially if they are realizing rain garden on a road, in a public road, who is owner of this rain garden? Because if they cannot put green infrastructure in the asset, like they can do by renovating a pipe, an underground pipe, it's like they are not investing in their asset. And this is a big issue because this is a big barrier to pushing in this direction. Why should I have pay rain garden on a road if I not even consider it in my asset, but I'm increasing the value of the city, for instance? And this is purely a financing, let me say, legislative barrier that require a big rethinking. Otherwise, it will be only spot intervention by innovative water utility. And this is also a matter of centralization, decentralization, existing sewer network, because it's true that for a new intervention is easy, but the big challenge that we have to win for climate change is to retrofit the existing. And this connection between multi-purpose and so multi-owner MBS and a sector that is very in silos between water and cities renovation and social renovation and whatever, it's the biggest challenge probably that we have, and in which probably Water Europe can play a big role also into, since you have a lot of water utility in your group, I suppose. So it's very important at this point.
There is also, for me, a huge cultural challenge for engineer on this solution, because, as you say, centralized, decentralized, and as we saw in the different presentation, we are showing very different systems with very different names, and there is no standardization for now compared to pipe, compared to what engineer used to do or design. It was standardized, but now it's not standardized. There are many solutions. And basically the engineer, they are cautious on this solution. They don't see the clear path because there are many different solutions. And this is a huge cultural challenge also that we need to overcome. Oh, your microphone.
It's really, I mean, a cultural change, big cultural shift, because I mean, I myself, I mean, as a water resource engineer, I've been thinking for years, I mean, in the beginning that at the end of the day, why water should be in the landscape. I mean, we've been, using it in pipes, in gray infrastructure since ever. So then, I mean, we are understanding that we need to balance the situation and give back to the landscape water as it should be. There are really a lot of additional questions coming also from the audience, and there was a question, for instance, about the matter that how we can use NBS in dry territories, because then it's a matter of water availability. If we have, I mean, a dry territories where water is scarce, it means that maybe that the climate change, or because there's, I mean, a condition that always happen, I mean, in that area, I mean, reduce, I mean, the availability of water. Is any chance that dry territories can benefit from utilization of other based solutions? Who can respond to this? I mean, how can we support dry areas, I mean, in be engaged in other based solutions deployment?
Maybe start, go ahead.
Well, I think it really depends on the solution that we might consider. But if so I mostly focus on green roofs, so I have those in mind. But if we could think to some system to collect water, it can be to use it. And I think they are also really important for the urban heat island issue. So I think it's really the multi-sectoral, and in fact that they are not providing just a benefit for the sewer system, but also in terms of reducing the higher temperature, cooling the environment, improving the air quality. So the fact that they are not just a solution for one specific problem, but they can address multiple problems, I think that's the point where we have really to push and, let's say, advertise them. So let's make clear these benefits. So it's not just one thing and we sponsor that, but make visible, and especially for the citizens.
As a matter of inclusion,
it's not really clear all the benefits. It's just okay, we put these and we get these and that, but not the whole picture.
Not the whole picture, you're right. And then something else that I was thinking about, the matter that in Europe it is difficult to say that is just an urban settlement, that's just industrial, that's just rural. Then what happens in Europe is that we have mixed situation, and that is the reason for which Water Europe supports territorial approach through the water-oriented living labs, because then it means to involve, I mean, all the relevant actors of the quadruple, or rather the quintuple helix, if you want to consider also nature as, I mean, one of the main actors of, our society, and in order to support the implementation of the innovation through also changing, I mean, why we are designing for the future. And as, I mean, I think Anna-Carlito rightly said, I mean, for the time being, what we can do is a retrofitting our system, because we have been speaking, I mean, a lot of time about, I mean, the circular economy and circular water, which is another point in which NBS can play a very important role. But at the same time, we should also consider that our system is not circular, has been planned to be linear. So it means that we can design for the circular systems for the future, from now onwards, but at the same time, we should use, I mean, what we have at hand now. It means that what we have, I mean, needs to be retrofitted. Another best solution can really, I think, contribute, I mean, to balance this, the need for balancing between the gray and the green infrastructures and approaches. Those, I mean, a question that I had about, I mean, the green roofs. But is there any risk that we enter into competition with, I don't know, energy production?
Yeah, it is, actually. We did a social study asking the citizen if they are willing to pay for green roofs for both private and public building. And actually, one of the main issues that we found for the private building is that citizens prefer to have solar panels because they see the more direct benefit, because they see that they are producing energy. Well, actually, also with a green roof, maybe you can reduce the energy consumption for heating and cooling system. I mean, it's not the same, but solar panels were largely advertised and sponsored with some national funding in the past. So there is, the benefits are clear and more visible. So some integrated system maybe could something that we think of, or, I mean, there are some studies that try to combine energy production with solar panels and green roofs, some new technologies, or also indeed try to really make it clear also with some numerical index, with some something that it's easy to understand and accessible for the citizen, that which are the benefits.
Which are the benefits, yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Any other comments about this and other issues? By the way, we are going to close, I mean, in a few minutes. I mean, about the presentation about, I mean, the coastal areas of Catalonia. I remember of the impact of the Gloria storm, and particularly on the Ebro River, which is, I mean, quite a sensitive ecosystem. Can we see, I mean, the application, the utilization of nature-based solutions as something that we should really promote, I mean, immediately, in order to prevent additional damage to our system because of the impact of the climate change? Well, I mean, the Gloria happened, I mean, a few years ago, and the impact was really a disaster. But then, I mean, we have on the one side, we have the cost of the action. On the other side, you have the cost of the no action. I mean, leave it as it is. So how can we decide for how to go ahead?
First, I would like to put all the audience a little bit in context. How is the Ebro Delta? Ebro Delta is a flat area, and there's the largest river of Spain discharging in that area. So due to the dams, there's not enough sediments achieving Ebro Delta, so there's a deterioration of the Ebro Delta. So what we should implement, good strategy should be also implement a strategy such dune restoration to protect the coastal line. But since it is a flat area, we have some inundations. We have also the sea level rise, which is also invading the territory. So here, the implementation of nature-based solutions is crucial. And we can try to find a strategy to not invest a lot of money. It's like to optimize the investment to protect this area, because there are some strategies. What we can do is like trying to, for example, implement a strategy to transport enough sediments to protect the coastal line. This, we need to know which strategy should implement. We don't know the economic impact behind it. It's something that we can try to study on future projects, but I think technically we have the knowledge. Within Impetus, we are demonstrating the benefits of different NBS solutions, not only at a technical level, but also the effect of that can have on the biodiversity. So it's a matter of time that we'll end up with NBS solutions implemented on the area.
Absolutely, I fully agree. I mean, there is the need for time. I mean, for not only implementing the NBS solution, but to see how also to adapt them. I mean, to the different situation that we have. Yeah. I mean, in Europe, because of course, let's not forget that Europe is a complex system in which, I mean, we have many different situations. I mean, living in the same continent, but really with a lot of differences, which is also not only for a matter of territorial pattern, but it's also a matter of culture, a matter of history, a matter of many things. Unfortunately, I mean, we're about 5 minutes behind the schedule, I mean, for this webinar, that I say that has been extremely interesting. I would like to ask, I mean, any of the panelists if there is anything else that they would like to add to the discussion. Otherwise, I mean, I would say that, I mean, the discussion has been really extremely interesting. I mean, and of course, I mean, I think that there is the common consensus of the matter that we need a paradigmatic shift and a change in how we manage water in the territories, which means to rethink about, I mean, the management of water from having all them in the pipes. I mean, but I mean, and giving that into the nature, giving water back to the nature, and to do this in a way that our society, as a whole, can take, I mean, most of the benefits, and at the same time looking at the economic factors and the political factors and the implementation feasibility of nature-based solution that for sure represent, I mean, the real new frontier for water management in the coming years. So, I mean, really many sincere thanks, I mean, to all the panelists and speakers and who participated, I mean, through directly through the Zoom platform and through the social media to this webinar. I would like to thank you for your contribution, very much appreciated. Thank you so much. And well, let's go ahead with our efforts in granting me through the next generation, the planet, I mean, a better future, particularly concerning water management. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.